Now we are going to study the most important part of unit number 4, that is production drawing from the subject MWM, Mechanical Working Drawing of ME3I. In previous lecture we have studied the whole length of basis system and different concepts like basic size, maximum diameter, minimum diameter, upper and lower deviations. All these things we have covered, and now we are going to start the tolerance. So what is meant by tolerance? One diagram is given over here. A shaft is there having upper limit and lower limit. Is it upper limit means maximum diameter of shaft and lower limit means minimum diameter of shaft, and difference between these two is nothing but the tolerance. Very important concept. What is meant by tolerance? Step by step we will study this tolerance. It is having types also. Okay, just see carefully. Now the definition. Tolerance can be defined as total permissible variation of size. The variation permitted in the size of maybe shaft, maybe hole, maybe shaft and hole combined. Or one more definition is that, and it is the simple definition, tolerance is the difference between maximum limit and minimum limit, or you can say upper limit and lower limit. We'll see in detail what is meant by tolerance. Just keep in mind one thing, tolerance is the difference between maximum and minimum limit. So the types of tolerances: unilateral tolerance and bilateral tolerance. See carefully this diagram. First of all, bilateral tolerances. Variation is permitted in both positive and negative directions from the nominal directions is nothing but the bilateral tolerance. Possible for a bilateral tolerance to be unbalanced. For example, 2.500 plus 0.01 or minus 0.05. Now see the diagram. Diagram A. What it shows, ways to specify tolerance limit for a nominal dimension of 2.5. Okay, this is the dimension 2.5. Unit is not given, it may be mm, maybe centimeter, but we are considering it as mm. The diameter of this shaft is 2.5 mm. Okay, and bilateral tolerances are given as plus 0.005 and minus 0.005. These are the permissible variations. Is it means 2.5 plus 0.05 or minus 0.005. On the both side of the dimension, if plus and minus values are mentioned, then it is a bilateral tolerance. And in case of unilateral tolerances, here 2.5, only one side is given, that may be plus, may be minus. It's plus 0.0010 and minus it is 0.000 means nothing. Minus side is 0, so it has only one value indicated at one side. The variation from the specified dimensions is permitted only in one direction, and in case of bilateral tolerance, variation permitted in both the directions, plus and minus. Now in case of unilateral tolerance, it may be positive, may be negative, but not both. In case of bilateral, it should be on the both side, but in case of unilateral tolerance, it is either plus or minus. It may happen that 2.500 plus side may be 0 and minus side may have some value, but it should be on only one direction, not both. We call it as unilateral tolerance. Is it? In simple word, unilateral tolerance means the value is mentioned in the one direction only, and in bilateral the value is mentioned in the both directions. Fine. Okay. Now see one more diagram, difference between the unilateral and bilateral tolerances. Now I have just explained you what is meant by bilateral and what is meant by unilateral. So after observing this diagram, you can conclude which is bilateral and which is unilateral. Okay, this dimension is mentioned for this shaft. 20 diameter is given and plus and minus 0.002. Okay, and on this side 20 dimension are mentioned, but on plus side 0.000, it means nothing. Only in the minus side in a second diagram 0.004 is mentioned. That means it is unilateral tolerance. Is it? In one direction only the values are mentioned, so it is unilateral tolerance, second diagram, and first diagram is bilateral tolerance because on the both sides the dimensions are mentioned. Fine. Okay, understood unilateral and bilateral tolerance. One more slide I am showing to you regarding the unilateral tolerance. Variations from specified dimension is permitted only in one direction. Is it? This is the definition of unilateral tolerance. 2.5. In this case, the dimension of shaft is given 2.5 and plus side is 0, but in minus side they have mentioned 0.007. Is it? So it is unilateral tolerance. You have to calculate later on all these things. And in diagram B, here they have mentioned 2.5 plus side 0.010 and minus side is 0. Here minus side is having some value and here minus side is 0. But both are, diagram A and diagram B, both are the unilateral tolerances example. Fine. Either positive or negative, any one of these. Fine. But not both. If both sides are mentioned, then it is bilateral. And this is the diagram showing you the unilateral tolerances. Fine. One more example of bilateral tolerance is, it is probably the most common type. In most of the example, in most of the diagrams, in most of the job drawings, you will find the bilateral tolerance shown 2.5 plus 0.05 and minus 0.05. Okay. Variation is permitted in both positive and negative or plus and minus directions from the nominal dimension. Nominal dimension means the value mentioned, actual value, nominal value, basic value mentioned for this particular diagram. It is the nominal value. Two types found, balanced or unbalanced. It is balanced because on the both sides the same values are mentioned, and it is unbalanced because in the both sides different values are mentioned. Plus is 0.03 and minus is 0.02, 0.2, whatever it may be, but it is unbalanced. Fine. So in this lecture we have completed the part tolerances. One more simple meaning of this tolerances I want to show. See, this is the shaft and hole. Shaft is inserted inside the hole. So what is meant by exactly the tolerance? We have seen the definition. Tolerance is difference between the upper limit and lower limit. Now in this case, upper limit means this one 25.2 mm maximum hole size, and lower limit is 24.8 mm shaft diameter, inner shaft diameter. It is lower limit. So difference between these two, 25.2 minus 24.8, what we get? 0.4. So this is the tolerance we have got from this diagram. From the given values is nothing but the tolerance. This yellow colored space indicates the tolerance of this hole and shaft wedge system. Tolerance is nothing but the 0.4 mm, which is very minor dimensions. You see, 1 mm is also very minor, and 0.4 mm means less than half of that. That means minimum variation is provided. That is nothing but the tolerance in shaft and hole basis system. I think so you have got idea about the tolerance, what is meant by tolerance. Fine.